Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes each. 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, the guests, some swearing, dancing, curse words, whatever, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how are you?
I'm well. I'm back on the ginger ale.
Back on the ginger ale,
How are
upgrading from
you?
Fresca.
Oh yeah, that's because I was doing the Fresca, but now I'm back on the ginger ale. We
Sometimes
ran out
Fresca's
of
hard to
Fresca.
find. It's hard to find sometimes to
It's
replenish that
sometimes
Fresca.
hard to find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking of something that I wanted to ask you.
Oh,
This is I've now been on this earth, for a while,
yeah.
and every year at this time, the days get shorter and the nights get longer. And
Yeah.
I've always lived kind of on the same latitude, whatever. But I feel like for whatever reason, this year it's bothering me more, and I'm more aware of it. Is this happening to you, or is this just a me thing?
Oh no, I gotta admit, it's I don't know that it's bothering me more, but I'm certainly like, wow, it's like
Yeah,
dark and it's like 4:30 and I'm ready for bed by 7, and then it's like,
yeah,
"Oh, you're doing a show in an hour." I was like, "Oh, but it's 11:30 at night." So, my clock is off. I feel my clock being off
okay.
more re if that like, is that it? That's the question? You're just annoyed? You're
No,
annoyed
it's not
with
even
the
annoying. It's just I realized it. My wife Stephanie and I, my wife, we went out to dinner at like 5 because we have the show. So
Yeah,
and it's like already dark, and we felt like it's like 9 o'clock at night. And
yeah,
I asked her this, and she said, "Yeah, I feel that way too. I'm very aware of it this year." And it's like,
yeah.
I mean, it's this way. It's the same way every year. I don't know. Maybe it's just
Maybe we're more aware. Maybe we're getting older and grouchier.
that could
Maybe
be.
just yeah.
That could be.
It's a
Um,
little weird for me because I came from sunshine, 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 and now I'm in the mountains, and, like, I'm really really
yeah,
in the mountains.
you're higher up too on the latitude, which does matter.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there are northern lights every once in a while. I haven't seen them, but they do happen, so it's a little different up here too. It's like a little air's a little thinner, whatever.
Yeah. I don't
It's
know.
just a little different.
It's just something I
I
noticed. I
love
wanted
it.
to run it by you, run it by people out there, see if anybody, if you're feeling that way, I guess you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
The other
Don't get a
thing,
sun lamp. That's not the alternative. Don't go in a
no,
tanning bed. That's not an alternative. Yeah.
ring light is okay, but tanning bed is not good. Vladimir Putin's running for re-election.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, what a surprise.
I know. It's crazy, right? I don't know what his chances are going to be. I have some. They sent me some of the slogans, the campaign slogans.
Oh, yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah.
What do we got?
Little man, big chip on shoulder. That was
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Fits on the bumper sticker.
it's
Perestroika is overrated. I don't know. I think it's shorter in Russian. Um, terrible like Ivan, great like Catherine. I don't know. It's a weird one.
that's pretty good. That's a little weird, but because we've all been watching you long enough, I think that one that's a winner for you. Just
Yeah,
for
I
you.
like I
Yeah.
like that one. I think I would go with that one. But I
Yeah.
think the one that they're going to go with is vote for me or I'll blow up your apartment building and kill your family and blame Chechnya. I think that's the one they're going to go with.
That worked for him so well
Yeah, it did.
in 2000 that why not, roll out the oldies.
Yeah, you got
Just
it. It's
roll them out.
retro.
It's retro.
Old is the new.
Vintage.
Uh,
It's almost vintage.
it's vintage. Vintage 99 is what it is. It's vintage
Vintage.
99. Okay, we don't want to keep our guest
No, we
waiting.
don't. Should we get into our
We
topics?
can get into our topics.
All right, I
We
was
can get
just
into our
pouring some more
topics.
ginger ale. All
Okay.
right, so just we got some letters right up top. Why don't you? It's not a mystery, but let's let you launch this.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
because you have a lot to say around this still, and I do too. We still have a lot to say about this human being.
there's two different human beings. Because the
Mm,
first thing that we have to get out of the way, and I talked about this on my podcast, and I want to hear your thoughts about this, is that
okay.
Bernie Sanders
Mm,
voted against and was the only non-Republican to vote against the aid bill for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. And he made up he had some reason, the break up the banks, whatever the fuck. Um, And I thought to myself, my God, this guy, he can't help himself. He cannot help himself
Yeah.
to Russia. So what was your reaction when you heard this news?
I mean, once you go to Russia for your honeymoon and sing "This land is your land, this land is my land" in your underwear, you're probably gonna vote that way,
Yeah.
no matter how many decades later it might be. I mean, this guy, he is consistent. That is my take on it. He is, at least you always know where Bernie's gonna land. You just dial the clock back to 1982, Moscow, Red Square, and
Mm-hmm.
you've got it. What would the Red Square do?
So the BB also stands for Breadline Bernie. That's a double meaning.
Breadline Bernie, yeah.
Breadline
I
Bernie.
mean,
Yeah.
Junior has had some doozies, but
That one's good. It
it's
fits if the
good.
shoe fits. But
Yeah.
the person we really want to talk about, of course, and we can't not talk about him, is Bibi
No,
Netanyahu, because
that's
you and I
right.
have talked about this even offline a lot. And I feel like, as fractious as everything is right now, and as fragile as all of the powers are right now, if something's gonna escalate and tip into a wider war, it's Bibi Netanyahu that's going to be responsible, because he's managed to find the nexus with all of the powers that be, and he's just pushing at it. That's what it feels like to me. He's pushing at it with the way he's presiding over this war in Gaza. And Biden has, come to the aid of Israel, which is good and which he should. Israel is our ally, and was attacked by Hamas in this horrible terrorist attack, which we're still getting information from about all the awful things that these men did. But Netanyahu has squandered the goodwill of the world, basically. And I don't know what's going to happen now. And it feels to me like, you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and I think every week it feels like he definitely knew that this was going to happen. The more space we have, the more reporting there
Doesn't
is.
feel like it. There's tremendous reporting, and other allied intelligence agencies, including our own, saying, "Yeah, we told them." There's his own soldiers on the patrolling the border saying, "Yeah, we told them." There's everybody saying, "Yeah, we told them." Him supporting Hamas recently, and then them going to visit with our buddy Vladimir Putin, with Lavrov, whoever they were with, in Russia, in preparation for this. Putin is his buddy, is his backup guy. He's his boy. And so what he didn't tell him, look, you're gonna be attacked by these guys. It could be just the writing it in terms of, all right, well, we're always being attacked. It'll be another terror attack, and I'll use it to get. It could be, and it's not conspiratorial again, to put that on the table as part of a playbook of what these strong men do.
Yeah.
But to say he planned it, that you can't say. Who knows that?
No.
But we can also go to this. This is where I get stopped now. I get stopped in two places. They start with the same thing. It starts with well, we're going to deal with all that after the war.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. Yeah.
When did we get out of Afghanistan? It took Joe Biden to get us out of Afghanistan after in the response to 9/11 that evolved with that forever war 20 years later. You're going to deal with this 20 years later, possibly. What is your plan? What is your war plan? Why are we, if this guy knew this and allowed it to go on for 8 hours, which is the second thing I can't get past, 8 hours of terror in that tiny little territory before any help arrived. It took us 3 fucking minutes to get our first responders down to the World Trade Center. 3 minutes. And they were they were local. It takes me 5 hours to get from Los Angeles to fucking New York.
Yeah.
It takes you 8 hours? 8 hours? And this is the motherfucker we're going to leave in power and control to wage a war where innocent, like in the most densely populated place on the planet of innocent civilians, children, elderly, care workers, first responders themselves, mothers, fathers,
Doctors, journalists,
doctors,
poets,
journalists,
children.
poets, children. The motherfucker who waited 8 hours to go 3 miles?
Yeah. I just feel like if something's going to happen, it's going to be his fault. And I'm just, I'm worried about that. And I think that the sooner that he steps down, the better. And I'm sure that Biden and Blinken are putting some sort of pressure on him to behave better than he's been. I think that's why Biden went there in the first place, to
I
try
do
to talk
too.
him off the ledge. But
God only knows what this man was planning and saying that he was
Yeah.
going to do.
Yeah, it's not
God
good.
only knows.
It's not good.
If this is what he's doing right out in the open after all that diplomacy,
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
He has to go now. Now.
Yeah.
Now.
Peace is not going to happen with him in power or Hamas in power. They both have to leave. So, that's it.
Yeah.
Did you set the
All of
timer?
this to avoid fraud. No, I didn't. It's been
Okay.
5 minutes. Let's
Okay.
move on. I forgot my one job. I have one job. One. I can't do it. All right. Here we go. Next topic.
NRX.
Oh, listen, for those of you who have not been paying attention, Greg Olear over on Prevail has been writing up a very special series. Again, I am petitioning for a third installment. There's been 2 already. I would like I would love for you to dissect Atlas Shrugged and put it to these people in terms of how shallow that, although a fun read, as you have said, how shallow the intellectual argument of burn it all to the ground actually is, and where it comes up short. And you can't embrace it and call yourself an intellectual. You just can't. It doesn't, you're not a thinker. You haven't thought. It's like Wolf Blitzer calling himself a deep investigative reporter when he can't ask a single follow-up question ever, right? Jokes made about that. It just, nah. So I love this series on the New Right. Tell us a little bit about these players and just get into it a little bit. I want everyone to hear about it. I know we've alluded to it. We talked about it a little bit, but this last week's one Tuesdays was great.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. And again, the series is called Dark Enlightenment, which is one of the names that they have for themselves. The movement is called, it's a Peter Thiel is involved. He's like Hoover's Sauron-like in the background over all these people. The way that I got, and NRX stands for Neo-Reactionary Fringe. That's the short.
Yeah.
Short
They wanted to sound like a model of Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I got in, I started looking into this because I read an article in Vanity Fair by James Pogue, where he basically went to some of these events and was talking to a lot of these people. And some of them are politicians like Blake Masters, and JD Vance is the most, the most successful politician of this bunch. And there's a lot of quotes of JD Vance in this thing. And he's not a dummy, and they were talking about being anti-woke and using that term. And, I always thought of the word woke as just kind of dumb. Like it's just Republicans being dumb, talking down to their base, like build the wall, no woke, like stupid monosyllabic garbage. But it really does have kind of an intellectual underpinning. And what I learned from the article is that it really comes from, the Unabomber Manifesto, which Ted Kaczynski wrote and was published in 1995 in exchange for him not killing any more people. So I went and read the Unabomber Manifesto, and the first, third of it is just railing against what he calls leftists, but now is clearly woke. That's what he's talking about.
Right.
So what these people have done is taken, Kaczynski's leftists, substituted the word woke, and that's basically who they're at war with. What they think is that there is a professional class, or whatever you want to call it, of people between the bewildered herd, what Walter Lippmann called the bewildered herd, and the elites that really actually run everything, right? So journalists, college professors,
Everyone who told them no at some point. You're
yes,
not good. Gave them,
middle managers,
yeah,
finance, whatever,
yeah,
lawyers.
the
There's
line
this
of
professional class,
rejection in their
and
grievance pool.
it's an institution, right?
Mhm.
One of the thought leaders, Curtis Yarvin, calls it the Cathedral, which is kind of a cool name for this thing. And it's
Right.
clearly, it's not real. Like, that's true. There is a group of people that, journalists exist, that college professors exist. Do college professors rule the world based on what they say? I think maybe not. I don't know. We'll ask. We'll try to get to the bottom of that one later. But that's what they think. And what they want to do is they want to destroy the cathedral, because they think the cathedral is awful. College is poisoning everybody's minds. It's making everybody weak. It's making men weak. Women are too strong. Gay people are bad. Blah blah blah. That's what they're getting at. And what they also want, and it goes by different names. It's the cathedral. Michael Anton calls it the regime. Steve Bannon calls it, I'm going to dismantle the administrative state. And
Right.
Donald Trump calls it the deep state. It's all the same fucking thing. That's what they're talking about. And us listening to it, we're just like, roll our eyes. All right, deep state. All right, woke. These words have a very specific meaning in this context, and they know what they're talking about when they're saying it. They're talking about something very specific. What they're talking about is getting rid of the basically institutions of the country, which, by the way, Trump has promised to do if and when he becomes president
By
again.
rounding up individuals as well.
Yeah, well,
It's a
there's
great
that, but
roundup.
he's going to get rid of the civil servants.
Mhm.
Yarvin has an acronym which he calls RAGE, which stands for Retire All Government Employees, that's the big job. And so they're going to do that. Bannon and Kosh Patel have promised to run the CIA and round us all up, or whatever the hell he's going to do. Good luck with that. I'm sure the CIA is going to go right along with you, Kosh Patel. But this is a thing that these people want. They want democracy gone. They want the republic gone. Yarvin wants a monarchy. Other people want more of a dictator, more of a, Vance calls it between, dictator and CEO type.
A strongman.
A strongman.
A daddy.
A daddy.
They
An
want
abusive
daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, mommy. Daddy didn't get a better mommy for you.
Yeah. So that's who they are. And I think they're interesting because they're not the usual. They're all very smart. They're not religious per se. They're not like Mike Johnson, who, Moses,
right?
Whatever. They're they consider
different kind of
like
daddy issue, because it's revolving around mommy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there is this intellectual side to it, but it's like Atlas Shrugged is a YA novel, and it's written as a YA novel because it's supposed to appeal to someone who's 13.
Yeah.
So,
and thinks we can just get rid of all government employees, and somehow this food that I like to say I'm a culinary expert in, right? And, they're all files of something or another. They're snobs, right? Because they were the gatekeepers who they want to get rid of, that didn't let them in. They think those people are the ones that are going to give them their big dreams. It didn't happen because those people can't give you your big dreams. You have to go out and work your ass off and make big sacrifices and grow and learn and actually have talent and skill. You don't have any of those. You just have your own internal thoughts about yourself being magnificent. And so you create your weird little world of little things that you're expert in. And if you think any of those things, half of which you like to put in your mouth, people, or spray on your body or be an influencer, you think any of that shit isn't going to kill you without a government agency making sure that it's the foods that you eat and shove down your pie hole aren't going to poison you, then good fucking luck.
Yeah.
You want to drive your fancy ass Tesla on a freeway good fucking luck.
Yeah.
And
I
not
don't know.
have it hit the battery, hit a thing and blow up, and you're burning alive inside of it.
I mean,
don't
it
know.
happens now.
It happens now. So
Only
you know,
gonna get worse.
I'm glad you're writing about them. I think I had a reaction to it a little bit at first. I was like, God, are we giving attention? These are people who also want attention more than anything else because they didn't get enough attention and they got rejected at some point. And it's really, truly that basic, right? It's just little toddlers with grievances. And it's, and then they craft all this garbage intellectual stuff that, ugh. But I thought, oh God, we're getting them attention. You're making them, giving a spotlight to them. And then I thought, no, actually, it's pretty dangerous because these brain worms that they put out there, this kind of thought is really seductive. They've chosen seductive texts to rely on. They've adapted a lot of the ideas and the structure of how the semantics are put together in a way that can sweep one into a garbage philosophy. But if you're not that sophisticated, you don't know that it's garbage philosophy. It just sort of feels right and makes sense to you. If you're a young person, especially. So there's a real danger with these folks. It's not, if it was the caveman woke bull, dumbness, it wouldn't be as threatening.
Yeah.
But it's important that everybody knows, I think, who these people are, not to elevate them or bring more attention to them, but to sort of understand the underpinnings of what they're trying to accomplish, and that the only tools they need to accomplish what they want, they have platforms, they have, a presentation, they have formats for getting their propaganda out there. They have an audience that's set in a template now that is only meant for growth. They've got algorithms on their side, and they have, aligned people like Elon Musk, who own entire huge media companies that are there to support and elevate them. So,
and teal bucks, as they call
teal
them.
bucks and money, and money from teal.
One last thing, just to put a bow on the Unabomber stuff.
Yeah,
he wrote that when revolutions happen, they basically, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, one of the reasons you do a revolution is to try to impose a new system. And that usually fails. But what doesn't fail is that the old system is destroyed. And he says very explicitly, we don't give a shit about the new system. We just want to destroy the old system. And
right.
That's really, he
was using, that's, primary socialist theory, and he's using it and turning it on its head while screaming about commies and woke, so again, it's garbage thinking. It's garbage paranoid thinking. That you can poke holes in it if you just read some simple, high school textbooks. Yeah.
All right. It's enough about these guys, I think.
Okay.
Did you know that we have a where's the thing? We have an ad.
Oh, yes, we do have a
we have a sponsor.
We have a new sponsor. All right, let's hear about it.
Thinking about leaving Congress? Ready to move on from the hassle of constant campaigning? Had enough of Capitol Hill? Whether you're retiring, not seeking re-election, or the first sitting Republican ever expelled from the House, Bribero Executive Placement Services can help you find your next opportunity. At Bribero, we specialize in landing soon-to-be ex-senators and congressmen high-paying jobs after they leave office. If you'd rather run Truth Social than chair the House Intelligence Committee, or host a Fox News show than oversee oversight, or sit on the board of News Corp than be Speaker of the House, even if you'd rather face certain criminal charges by serving as an insurrectionist president's chief of staff than seek re-election, Bribero makes sure you land your dream job. So if you're a former Speaker of the House, a former acting Speaker of the House, or a senator under indictment for being an Egyptian spy, Bribero will find the cushy sinecure you deserve. Bribero, the pot of gold at the end of the congressional term. And now, back to the show. Yeah, I don't know. I think Patrick Henry, they're going to give this thing a try. I think it's going to be good.
Thank God there are services like that out there.
I know, right? Yeah, and the NRX would want to get rid of these lovely services. Shout out Chunk for putting that visual together.
Yeah,
on like very short notice. Very excellent job, as always. The great Chunk. Okay, it's time for our guest.
Yay!
She is a a columnist at Resolute Square. She's the author of Founding Fictions and Demagogue for President. And she's also a college professor, which means obviously that she rules the entire world. Jen Mercieca.
Jen Mercieca!
Hi.
So, do you run the world? Is this true?
Yes, girls run the world. So yes.
Oh,
all right.
They just might. And if they stay in there and they're successful enough, maybe end up on the cover of Time magazine. But we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. First things first. What are you drinking? Because you had a nice cocktail before, or is it?
I do. I have an Aperol spritz.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to y'all.
Oh, I need that ginger ale. All right, Jen. I read your piece. It was amazing. Greg, you want to jump in with some questions and catch people up?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple of pieces you've written which are good. I want to talk about both of them. These NRX people, the neo-reactionaries, they want Trump to be either a king or whatever, a dictator. Trump himself
those folks are also called accelerationists.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. In case folks know that word.
What does that mean exactly, though? Like, what are they accelerating? The destruction of everything?
They want to accelerate the end of humans living on Earth or something like that, I believe. It coincides with the end time people.
Okay.
They're all working towards the same goal.
They're fun at parties. They're fun at parties.
Yeah. It's like having the Joker there. It's fantastic.
There's a lot of talk of Trump as dictator, and Trump himself has been, pretty dictatory lately. So he's on Hannity. You wrote about this. Does he want to be a dictator? And if he's elected, will he be? What are you seeing?
Yes, he at least wants us to think that he will be a dictator, because that's better for him than us thinking that he's a loser, which is what he is. But yes, he would like to be a dictator. So I wrote about the rule of law and how the rule of law is democratic, and authoritarians, autocrats, fascists, doesn't matter what you call them, dictators, they don't want to follow the rule of law because that restrains their behavior. So what scholars call it is rule by law, autocratic rule by law. And that means that the rules are arbitrary. The law is not applied equally. It's incredibly capricious at the whim of, the autocrat or the authoritarian. Trump wants that power. I think Trump thought he would get that power if he was elected president and was a little bummed when he didn't. But yeah, he definitely wants it now.
Can I say something on that? I think also it was when he came into office, I remember it so clearly. There were some slips that he was having. First of all, it didn't look like he wanted to win. He looked really bummed out that he actually won. Oh my God, now I got to go do this thing. I thought I was just, doing an op. And so then he ends up president. And then he was like, he started to admit, again, I can't remember the reporter who did this interview with CBS Morning for a little bit. But a big journalist, for CBS, he started to do this thing. He was saying like, yeah, I thought it was going to be a little different. Like, I thought I would just, I just had to and then he stopped himself, but he was really just saying, I thought it was just like a show. Like I just had to show up to the show.
He thought he got to go to parades.
Yeah. I was like, I was looking at all these past presidents and they're like, oh, they just shake. He thought it was a show, but then longed for this. Well, then why can't I just have whatever I want? Why can't I just do whatever I want? And everything was like, well, why can't, why not? Why not? Is it illegal? Da, 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 da. You could tell his whole work ethic was just, why can't I have what I want? Don't tell me no. Again, the boys who can't hear no. And if you tell me no, I'm going to figure out a way to rail right through you. And I will also call you an enemy in the process. And then you'll be on a list. And when if I keep this power, I have more power, I come back into power, I'm going to burn you to the ground.
Yeah, we're all on a list.
So there's something in there where he didn't expect it, but then he had the thing. And then he thought he could play with it like a toy, like he wanted to play with it. And then there were rules on it. and he didn't like that. And I just don't know if we're ever going to get out of this cycle of toddlers being told no and having a lot of problems with it. And then, our society seems to elevate them to president or heads of companies that have billions of dollars. I'm not sure. What do we do, Jen?
My job is just to do the rhetorical criticism.
Okay.
I don't know.
No advice.
I was going to say, I can't remember where I read this, if it was in one of the Kagan article or whatever, where what Truman was remarking when Eisenhower became president. He was like, poor Ike, he's going to be like, do this, do that, and nobody will do anything. Because, he was the general commanding.
Yeah.
And then once you're president, that power just goes away. It's not the way that Donald thinks.
And
now,
presidents have so much more power than the founding fathers thought that they should or would. Like, we've already ruined the presidency for what the Constitution was supposed to be. We can't have a dictator.
Now, since you brought that up, because I was going to ask you this also, that we're going to sidetrack a little bit. I read in Founding Fictions, at the beginning of Founding Fictions, which is your book
Thank you for being the one person who read that book.
I'm getting my way through it. I haven't read the whole thing. I am going through it because it's interesting. And the sort of idea of the book is that there's these narratives that, we invent and concoct and then start telling ourselves until we get to the point where we believe them, even though they're complete bullshit. And one of the things that's interesting is that the word democracy was kind of a bad word to those guys. They thought that it just meant mob rule and rule by morons. So talk a little bit about that. Like, when did that change? When did that shift happen where we started to kind of work towards that, even though, it's a republic, really, not a technically.
Yeah, so the founding, constitutional convention, whatnot, the word democracy is never used. They argued about, the will of the people and who should get to vote. And, they argued questions that were related to democracy, but they never used that word. And it's not in the Federalist Papers. It occurs in one debate that I saw in the first Congress over the Bill of Rights. And as you probably know, our First Amendment today was actually the Third Amendment that was debated. The first two didn't pass. One was going to change the rate of representation, and I forget what the second one was going to do. But so what was then the Third Amendment, our First Amendment, as you know, is the one that protects our rights as citizens. So it protects freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, right to petition, and the right to assemble. Those are your 5 freedoms. Most people can't name those 5 freedoms, so I'm pleased that I got them. Myself in the back. But it also included a 6th freedom, and that was protecting your right to instruct your representative. And that meant you would give binding instructions to your representative in the House and tell them how to vote for every issue that they voted on. And so the only debate that there was over what's now the First Amendment was over this part of the First Amendment. And James Madison, who, as you know, wrote the Constitution and wrote the notes about the Constitution and wrote the Federalist Papers too, he argued against having the right to instruct your representatives, specifically on the grounds of republicanism. And his main antagonist was Elbridge Gerry. Which I understand he actually pronounced his name Gary. So it's a gerrymander, not a gerrymander, but whatever.
Oh.
I know, weird. I can't
First
handle
I've heard
that, so I don't.
First I've heard that.
I don't process that. So
Okay.
it's still a gerrymander to me. But anyway, Elbridge Gerry, who, sometimes he argued for the will of the people at the Constitutional Convention. Sometimes he didn't. He kind of changed his mind a bit. He didn't end up signing. He left irritated. But anyway, he gets elected, and he argues that if we don't have the right to instruct our representatives, then, what kind of government did we form? He thought we had formed a democracy, but perhaps we should use some other appellation, some other term, right, for it. And James Madison was like, no, friend, it was not a democracy. It was never a democracy. Anyway, so all throughout the early American period, the word democracy is not deployed, except for with the Democratic Republican Society. So that's like supporting the French Revolution. But the Federalists always are not a fan of that or those societies until Andrew Jackson. And so Andrew Jackson runs in 1824 and he wins the popular vote, but he doesn't win enough votes to win the election. So it gets thrown to the House and shenanigans happen. And he ends up not getting selected by the House because of a corrupt bargain with Henry Clay and John Quincy Adams. So he goes on a grudge match re-election campaign for 1828. So between 1824 and 1828, coincidentally, there's a revolution or something in Greece. And so there's this idea that like, oh, democracy's been revived in Greece. That's happening kind of around that same time. But so, and I really apologize because there's a lot of twists and turns here, but John Quincy Adams wrote a series of essays defending his dad, John Adams, when John Adams was president, because Thomas Paine wrote a mean note to Thomas Jefferson about the rights of man. And so it ended up being this.
It's like a Twitter battle of 18.
It was a Twitter battle. But
well,
so
1797.
I was like, oh, petty.
He said, being John Quincy Adams, said that what are we to rally around Thomas Jefferson as the Islam of democracy? And we cannot question a word he says. So he said that in like 1802, maybe it was in the 1790s. Then his dad would still be president, so it was probably 1790s. I can't remember. And anyway, so then fast forward between 1824 and 1828, it gets revived as like a slam on John Quincy Adams. And just like they were like, hey, yeah, we are the deplorables. The Jacksonians were like, hey, yeah, we are the democracy. We're the party of Jefferson. Sure, that's us. And so they revived the term and they repurposed it. Now, I've done an analysis of Andrew Jackson's rhetoric, of his policies, all of that. Well-known enslaver, not a person who was actually for democracy as we would understand it today. He never made any kind of arguments to change the Constitution to make the government a democracy and not a republic. And in fact, when he gave his farewell address, he used the word republic to refer to the government like 7 times.
Okay.
And so democracy for him was a legerdemain. It was a sleight of hand. It was never a thing that he was trying to create. So we really didn't get democracy in America until 1965.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I like all this.
That was great.
Yeah.
Did you know you're going to have an on-the-spot lecture? I love that. You did it. Nice.
People don't like you telling them that story, though, except for the Republicans. The Republicans really like that story.
Oh, no. Well,
they like Andrew Jackson because he enslaved people and killed all the Native Americans.
Yeah.
He's a strong man.
And he was
a fascist.
He was also a scary guy. I mean, physically.
Yeah, he liked to duel.
Somebody tried to kill him, assassinate him, and he almost killed the guy himself.
He liked to duel. Yeah. He there's one duel he was in before he was just a lawyer, and he fought some other lawyer who was supposed to be like the best shot in Kentucky, and Andrew Jackson just stood there and let the guy shoot him first, and then held up his pistol and shot him dead. And him and his second go off to a tavern or whatever, and the guy's like, I could have sworn you got shot. And he was like, no matter. And then in the tavern, he got some buttermilk for some reason. And he noticed that, Andrew Jackson had blood dripping down. And he always had these bullets lodged in his chest. And then his second was like, what happened? And Andrew Jackson was like, I was determined to shoot him dead. I didn't care.
Oh, man.
He was mean.
Yeah. Nasty guy.
Nasty guys.
I would
forever.
Trump hung up his portrait, right? Didn't Trump?
Yeah, he did.
He did right there.
He did.
Yeah.
He was like right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not good.
There's reasons for
Well,
that.
let's talk about that loser for a little bit here. So, the other thing you've written is about how you've written many things, is about how to call Trump Hitler, to equate him to this sort of ultimate evil strongman, is to give him what he wants.
Yeah.
Because if the choice is between that and a loser, which is what he really is, he's fine. And there's been a lot of groundwork laid to normalize and make it be like, it's not so bad, because what's worse is the left, is the ones that are out to get me, and they're out to get you too, and I'm your thing. And so he's doing the strongman playbook to the degree that he has no problem actually being compared with Hitler, which is why it was no mistake, or no, I don't know what I'm doing, when he's, spewing out talking points like, the left are vermin. Like, this is what this man is up to. It's calculated. The people around him know what to do. He knows what to do. They're pushing everything to this place, because that actually will not turn off his base. I think it might have started as a little bit of a test of like, will this really turn them off? And they found, oh no, they like it. Okay, they love this. Give them more of it, because we'll keep radicalizing these people over and over and over and over again, so that they can't see that I'm wearing diapers.
Yeah.
The reason my pants are so bunched up and weird and they have big legs is because I have a big fat fucking diaper on my ass. Because I can't control any of that anymore. Right? And this is why he melts down. He melt down. And with the Lincoln Project, whatever anyone might think of them, they put out another Trump ad about how he's senile and demented, and put a picture of him next to his dad. This is a sore spot, I understand, for Donald, is what happened to his father when he watched his father crumble mentally under dementia, and he didn't like it. And it's like, maybe you're like your dad. And it just hits every sore spot for him. And he lost his goddamn mind. Again, he melted down. Because it's like, ah! This is his boogeyman. His boogeyman is the reflection back in the mirror, especially if it's around his wrinkled old bunched up weird suit outfit because of the fucking diapers. I'm sorry, Jen. I know you're a very respectable professor, and now you're embarrassed because I said the diaper thing. I feel terrible about that. I'm not trying to make this a horrible thing for you, but
that's okay. You didn't turn him into a animal.
Yeah, I didn't. So
you didn't reify him. He's a person. He's just a person.
He's a person. He's a human being. He's an old man.
Yeah.
He's
and that
in
happens.
trouble
That
legally.
happens. They sell them in the stores. It happens.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with wearing diapers, except when you're trying to project as a
his strong man image. And that's what he can't deal with. If he was just like, I am a human being who suffers, we would be like, yes, and we support you. But he doesn't do that.
No, that's not going to work for him. And he's also got just problems. He's clearly got emotional and personality problems that can't have. So he likes Hitler. He likes this strongman thing.
Hitler was also a loser, by the way.
Hitler was also
a huge loser.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
He wanted to be an architect, and they were like, nah. And he
wanted to be an artist.
Painter.
No.
And they're like, nah.
You don't have any
okay,
talent.
then I'm going to go paint some houses.
And
he ended up being a construction worker.
Out. The cathedral gatekeeper said no. And it caused such a little problem with his little self.
So hated the professors.
That's true. All right. So what are we looking at when we're talking about Trump as a loser? Let's talk about him as a loser and know that even though you said you just are observing the rhetoric, this is actually, I think, instructional for us and for people to know, focus on this, keep pushing this forward. Like, is it bad if we mock him? Is mocking not good, or does it work?
He does not enjoy being mocked. And that's where I think that Rick and the rest of the Lincoln Project are really good at figuring out how to push his buttons and making those ads. They make me laugh sometimes, even though I would never say those things. I do enjoy that they say those things. They're the vanguard. Yeah. So autocrats, wannabe dictators, fascists, authoritarians, whatever, they follow a playbook. And all of it is a long con, basically. It's a con man's game. And they have strategies that they use. They all use the same ones, right? And part of the con man, the fascist con man strategy, is to pretend that they are strong men, right? That they're the strong man. And so you can read Ruth's book about that, Ruth Ben-Gay. She has a great history about how different strongmen throughout world history have done this, and you can learn a lot about what Donald Trump's doing from her. But they all do the same things. Trump et al. Will tell you that politics is war, that the enemy cheats. There is no rule of law because they have already perverted it. They have already wrecked it. And so you need a Leviathan. You need a strong leader. You need someone like me, to be your vengeance, to be your revenge, to set things right, restore order, end the chaos, et cetera, et cetera. People who are wannabe dictators, authoritarians, fascists, whatever, they tend to have what's called a socially dominant personality by people who study, this in psychology. And the people who follow them tend to have a right-wing authoritarian personality. And it's been really interesting for me to read about all of that and kind of think about how different legal strategies are being deployed, different rhetorics are being deployed. But the one that really stands out to me is that right-wing authoritarians want hierarchy, they want stability, they want to follow a socially dominant leader. And they're very willing to be aggressive to defend group norms. And so scholars call that a posse response. They have a very strong posse response. And so a lot of what you see Trump doing, a lot of what you see with state level, like stand your ground laws, or the ways in which the abortion laws have been written at the state level where someone is going to turn you in, right, for doing these things. It's all about activating the posse. And so, Trump wants you to think that he's a strong man so that he can lead the right-wing authoritarian personalities. And
So
the
if
worst thing for him is to be a loser.
right, so if he's a loser, he will lose followers.
Yes, if they start to see him as a loser, he will lose followers. So that's why he can't admit that he lost the election. So one thing that I've always done, I don't even know when I started, but sometime during maybe 2015 or 2016, I started to do just like regularly do a tweet that was like, Donald Trump is not popular. Donald Trump is the least popular person to ever run for office in US history. Donald Trump is the least popular president in US history. Donald Trump has never had more than 50% support. Donald Trump lost the popular vote twice, right? Like I've always done that because popularity is so key to being a demagogue. Right. So if you want to be a leader of the people and promise that you're going to protect them and their interests, then you wield them like a cudgel, and you have to have them in order to have power. And so I was always trying to attack him on popularity grounds because I think that is one of his Achilles heels. But he's a loser, overall, right? And like that, he cannot, his party has lost. They lost in 2018. They lost in 2020. They lost in 2022. They lost in 2023, right? They have lost and lost and lost and lost ever since he became the leader of that party. He's a loser. He's in 4 court cases. He's going to lose his brand in New York, right? Like they're castrating him. And he is a huge loser. And I think that it's important to let him know that we know that.
I like that. I like the idea of tweeting out these things very in simple phrases. It reminded me of a story when I was in high school. The one time I ran for office or whatever, the student council, whatever the hell it is, which I didn't want to do. I was running, and this girl who was in my class who sat next to me in art class was also running, and the third person won. And after they announced it on the loudspeaker, the art teacher was like, "Well, now we can say without a doubt that I have 2 losers in this class." And he was cool. It was funny, but it's true. So
You
yeah,
still
what you just
remember
said
it.
about losing the election, he's literally a loser. He's
And
literally a loser.
that's why he
Yeah.
didn't lose the election. That's why it had to be
Yeah.
rigged, because
That's why he
can't
cheats
be
at
a
golf.
loser.
Remember the guy wrote the
Yeah.
piece for Golf
She-
Digest about how he cheats at golf and
Yes,
what that means
and he
about
cheats at
because
golf.
he
He
can't
cheats at
fucking
everything.
he can't handle losing.
He can't.
He can't
He
handle
can't
losing.
lose money. That's why he won't pay his taxes or pay anybody. He can't.
Yeah.
He's greedy.
And Obama mocked him. Remember during the
Oh, he was such a loser.
yeah, he couldn't
There.
handle it. He couldn't handle it.
He
So,
Yeah.
just he didn't like it.
yeah, I like this. This is good strategizing. This is good rhetoric.
Can you imagine an American president who would rather be seen as Hitler, as a dictator, than be seen as a loser? Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I can. He's
I mean,
right in front of us.
it's so absurd. But I've
Yeah.
said this to a few people and in some interviews and things like that recently, and people are like, "Oh yeah, yeah." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah."
Yeah.
And then we go, "Oh
I
yeah."
think that's actually great. I think that's a great thing to say as well. It's like he's actually choosing this because the other choice is for people to know that he's a loser.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about, where take your moral compass and put it in the fucking garbage, and then you have the baseline of Donald Trump. Now we're that's all. It doesn't matter as long as I'm not losing and I'm winning. And
Yes.
And
yeah,
he's-
I like it. I think we can work with this.
Yeah,
We
Jen.
can work with this.
I think we can work with this. I think we can make some good hay.
He would
Because-
rather be compared with a guy who lost World War II and shot himself in the head in the bunker.
Hitler was
And
such a loser.
Yeah, literally a loser.
So
Lost-
maybe that's also the thing. It's like, well, Hitler was a loser. I mean, is he really
Yeah.
wanting to compare himself with Hitler? Because Hitler was a big loser.
I
He lost
have
the
been
war. He
I've
lost
been working on a book proposal called Fascism is for Losers, and I wish it was already out, because I have all these good arguments and examples about how big a loser a fascist is, and how all of their arguments are because they're such big losers. But
Well, we want
nobody
we
can
wanna
read
hear
it yet, so
You could come on here, come back, come
I'll
on
just come
here,
talk to y'all.
run, give it some legs. See how your phrasing goes around the track. See what there's fun. We'll be your focus group for
Thank
this.
you.
yeah.
We'd love
I
to
need
hear
that.
it as soon
I
as
need that.
possible. All right.
All right.
Now, Jen, did you have another thing, Greg, or are we going to ask the same thing I'm going to ask?
Oh no, go ahead. You go.
Yeah, are you sticking around with us a little bit, right? Because we have a couple more topics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greg,
Half the
did you have
drink
anything
stuff.
else about the loser?
No, I was going to move on to. I was going to say it's time for number 4. We got.
It's time for number
yeah.
4. I'm going to set the timer on this, Jen, because now we're
I'm
back.
sorry,
to the
I
timer.
talked too much.
No, that's why you're here.
No.
why you're here.
Your block is always as much time as you want, but now we're going to 8 minutes. All right, here we go. Speaker Moses.
Okay, so Mike Johnson again. What name is this? This isn't a name for a real person. This is a made-up name. Will Bunch on the podcast was like, "Is this an AI guy? Does he just get created from AI?" And it may well be. It just every day it feels like it gets worse with this dude. So, this week there was the footage that somebody took where he thought he was talking privately, but it was being live streamed. I guess he didn't know, where he said that God talked to him and said that he was Moses and he's going to come to the moment. So again, I'm not a big, religious guy. No, Jen, you're not. LB, you are the daughter of a minister.
God.
So when he said this, is he going to talking about 40 years in the desert or dying before accomplishing his goal?
This
or
is
is he going to
all
part
Old
the Red
Testament
Sea?
stuff. Yeah.
Is it the 10 plagues? Like, what's going on with this guy?
You're the Old Testament guy. You're the Catholic.
I don't know.
Um,
yeah.
look, I can't, because I am the daughter of an actual minister who was had tremendous integrity in his work, and never stopped learning, and didn't approach any of it as if you could stand on the mount and proclaim yourself something. Oh my God, I can't even imagine my dad doing anything like that. So none of it. It's just so inauthentic to me. This person, Mike Johnson. It just feels cynical, and I know everyone wants to say no, they're real believers and they're true, but of what?
Yeah.
Of something that's already been warped and twisted, and isn't, certainly not of what Christ had to say, and what he's certainly not part of that. He's not a true believer of that. So this is some weird, uh, mutation of that's been going on for decades, and this guy's jumping in. It reminds me a little bit of Kevin McCarthy. Remember when Kevin McCarthy would put on that preacher tone and give a speech, and sound like he was giving a sermon, and he would do all the inflections like that. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? He doesn't even sound like that. So they've all learned how to be very performative.
Yeah.
And I just don't know, like this guy comparing himself to Moses. I think even in that conference, it's like, what are you doing? When does this cosplay end? Do you know how to take a break from it? For the folks that are that engaged, he seems fully committed, but that doesn't mean he's a true believer. It just means he possibly is a psychopath who's just mimicking and going along because he's getting feedback from an audience or from a world that he's in to say, yeah, that's great. We like it that way. Keep going that way. He's clearly also got, some type of massive denial syndrome going on. And so I also can't take him seriously. I can't take anybody seriously who's so fundamentally in denial. And so clearly, and just spewing garbage to project and attack, and like, so I don't know. I don't know what to think of it. I'd like to talk more about blurring out the faces of the J6.
Well, before we get to the blur, just to put a bow on the Moses thing, I think we can agree that Donald Trump is the golden calf, right? And that these people that worship him are the golden calf. You know who slew all the worshipers of the golden calf? Fucking Moses. Read the fucking Bible. Jesus
That's
Christ.
what I'm saying. It's not, it's so inauthentic. It's just, I don't think Moses had a bank account either. Well, in that way, they might be similar.
Good job. That's funny.
Good job.
That's some funny stuff. Jen, what do you think? Do you have any thoughts on this before we move to the blurring of the faces?
I have no thoughts.
Okay, so Mike Johnson released the J6 footage that he acquired, but he wanted to blur the faces of all the people that were there to protect them from being identified. Jen, why would he do that? Help. What is he doing? What's the purpose of this?
This is another thing that I enjoy tweeting. And I do think that I tweeted it today at somebody. I forget who now. So when you're in the middle of a coup, you take a record of that coup. You take pictures, you do video and all that. If you're Roger Stone, you have a camera crew follow you around, etc. Nevada fake electors pose by the evidence, whatever. You do that because when your coup succeeds, you will then be a founding father, right? And there you are in the moment, so they can make the monument to you. But if you're in an actual revolutionary moment, like for example, when the American founders were in Independence Hall signing the Declaration of Independence, they believed that they were signing their death warrant, right? They didn't want any record of it. In fact, Benjamin Harrison was a very heavy man, and he turned to, I believe, Elbridge Gerry. Again, guy gets around, who was very small, and he said, you know, I'm lucky because I'm so heavy, I'll go quickly when they put the noose around my neck, right? And everyone sort of laughed, a grim and morbid laugh. They weren't posing, you know, with a table or whatever. Anyway, so he's blurring these things because the coup failed, and now it's evidence to be used against them, right? And so we can't have that.
So more losers.
More losers.
Blurring the law.
They couldn't even coup right.
Couldn't even coup right. It's not like, you know, they couldn't reach into the archives and study up on some coups and figure out how to do it right. Oh, good Lord.
He say in an article, he's still cooing the other day.
Yeah.
Trump.
And still losing.
Cooing and losing, yes.
Cooing
both.
and losing.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that. I like that you don't blur it out if you.
Yeah,
if you're
no, of
winners.
course. If the coup succeeded, they would be founding fathers.
Yeah.
We would be building monuments to them. But because they are failed cousters, we gotta
He's covering
give
up
them
crime.
their dignity.
So, I mean, whether that or end up as something that, you know, Greg, what do you think? Does this end up like as evidence? Because this guy was involved in the insurrection. Is he, you know, isn't this aiding and abetting, or does the FBI already have all this stuff? Is he keeping
I don't think
evidence?
the FBI does not necessarily have everything, because a lot of and people have pointed this out on Twitter. This isn't me, but you know, a lot of the people that got arrested because of crowdsourcing faces and stuff. That, you know, it really did help. So we cannot assume, I think, that the FBI has anything. I don't think we can assume the FBI has anything or is doing anything. That's an assumption we cannot make. So, you know, releasing all of the footage and blurring the thing is, yeah, I think you could argue it's obstruction, but nobody's going to take this guy to court. I think the more dangerous thing with him is he is now in the position of power where, if God forbid something happens with the election and it's close and it does an Andrew Jackson, John Quincy Adams 1824 thing, right? So that's 200 years later. This motherfucker is going to be the guy presiding over that. Now, he will not be presiding over it necessarily on January 6th, 2025, because the new term is sworn in before that, I believe. But that's dangerous. And in the meantime, you know, he's 2 heartbeats away from the presidency.
Yeah.
This wacko, this fucking guy who thinks he's Moses, man. So I don't know. Journalists have done good work. I think we give them hell on this show when they fuck up, but they've been doing good work. I think kind of getting at who this guy is. You know, which algorithm created him from which chat GPI. I think maybe Sam Altman. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But that's the thing for me that I'm worried about, you know.
I don't know how to do it. How do you do it like Taylor Swift does?
Oh, how
Like
do
that?
you do it like Taylor Swift? Nice
I got to work on that.
Look
I
at
don't-
this.
I don't know what you're.
I have Gen X fingers. I don't know
that
how to.
Taking us into our next segment.
Is that a
take
crypt
a
or
pause.
blood? Like, I don't know. Okay, so we have announcements first.
Yeah, we have to take a pause and do some announcements. We
Yeah.
do have one announcement at least.
What's the one?
Our
announcement?
upcoming show.
Oh, yes.
What's the day again? Our
I
Christmas
think
show.
it's I want to say it's the 22nd. It's
I
that
wanna
Friday
say that
before
too.
Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah.
It will be for members only. It'll be a Christmas
Ooh.
special. There will be poinsettias. There will be Christmas themed things. Yeah.
You got to have the secret code to get into the speakeasy.
You got to have the secret code. You have to, and you have to sign up to get the secret code. It costs $1.99. It's
$1.99.
Yeah. Very secret. Yeah.
That sounds great.
We have that.
Thanks, Jen. You should come. We'd love to have you.
We would.
Thank you.
We would.
Yeah, we love your background. It's all so lovely and festive and wonderful. Yeah. And we're going to have Christmas cocktails. We're doing it. I will have a Christmas cocktail.
I made eggnog already.
Ooh.
We're good.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Nice. I have a quick thing.
Okay.
Really quick thing.
Yep.
Late this afternoon, it came out that Ryan O'Neal died. So R.I.P. He was in a movie called Zero Effect, which is one of my favorite movies that no one has seen. And he's so fucking good in it. And I know it's one of those things like that's kind of an indie movie a little bit, and they got people, but I think you could tell that when they got him to be in it, they were like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be good now," because
Oh,
he's
wow.
fucking awesome. So if you haven't seen that, you know he's obviously famous for Love Story and Paper Moon and other things, but
Right.
I love Zero Effect so much, and he's so good in it. It's really, really fucking fantastic. So that's my announcement, which has nothing to do with anything.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Because
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay, Jen, do you have any announcements? Do you have anything coming up? We know you've got your book you're working on.
I got
No?
nothing. I'm
You got
grading
nothing?
papers. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Let's
Semester's
just make
almost
sure
over.
we repeat where everyone can find you and the names of your books. Greg, let's do that, and then we'll go right into our last segment. So are you on all the socials or just the?
I mean, I really only look at Twitter and Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I have accounts on some of the other ones. I'm not on Threads because Meta, I don't like them. They don't
Same.
Yeah, I know. We don't like him either. Okay, and you're not on Instagram, but on Blue Sky,
Yeah.
is it the same name on
Oh
Twitter?
yeah,
X?
Jen Mercieca everywhere.
Jen Mercieca everywhere. Okay, so
Mhm.
that's where everyone can find Jen if you want to.
There are other Jen Mercias in the world, and I
I
have
was just gonna
gotten all
say.
the handles.
And you got them. You got them
Yeah.
all. Okay, great.
There's
How many
like
can there
2
be?
or 3 others out there, and they're, I'm sure, mad.
Wonderful. And tell everybody again the publication that you write for so they can catch your.
It's called Resolute Square, and it's built or branded as a pro-democracy news organization. It's been around for about a year, and it's run by the Lincoln Project folks and Stuart Stevens and good folks like that.
Wonderful.
But it's not a part of the Lincoln Project officially.
Nice. All right. So you can find, we've got the link up there for everyone to take a look at. Don't forget to also with us, hit the subscribe, hit the join button, hit the likes. Come on, guys. We want you in our community and we love having everyone here. All right. We're going to move on to our final thing and we're going to let you take the lead, Jen, on our Time Magazine Person of the Year, Taylor Swift.
Who else would it be?
Who else would it be? And
Elbridge Gary.
That's a callback. Nicely done.
Throwback. And you have some opinions, I know, to share.
I have newly formed opinions about Taylor Swift. I would like to declare them to the world. My 10-year-old has fallen in love with Taylor Swift in the last couple of months. And so I have subsequently bought all her CDs, Taylor version, and learned the oeuvre. We went to the opening night of the Eras tour. We did the thing with the bracelets and the everything, sparkle, and it was super fun. And who else would it be? So I read the Time article. You know, she she caused earthquakes, right? With her concert. She boosted economies. People in foreign countries are trying to lure her to come and play shows in their countries so that she will boost their economies. She got girls to watch football. She got people that registered to vote.
That's an amazing thing that it's actually become this huge asset
to the
for
NFL.
The NFL. Yeah.
Like I don't know about the sports thing or the ball playing or whatever that is called, but I have seen many images of her in videos that I've watched of her going in and at the place. And
Stadium.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. So also I think that I'm a Gen X person, so I'm too old to be a part of the millennial and younger crowd that has grown up with her. But getting to know her music, she is an excellent storyteller. It's very impressive, actually, and really good with words. Really, really good with words.
And motivating for a huge blocks of new young voters.
Yes.
Which is what made a lot of conservative brains explode when she got named Person of the Year. And Greg, you had some things you were saying about that beforehand of like, remembering how they used to worship her, right?
Right.
This
Now,
sort
Jen, you were saying that is being a
Okay.
frequent reader of the Daily Stormer,
Yeah.
you just for the articles though.
Well, I mean, so when I was doing research on the 2016 presidential campaign, I read the Daily Stormer to try to figure out how Donald Trump was appealing to white nationalists and like how they were supporting him. And that Andrew Anglin guy who runs that thing, like he's actually a pretty perceptive observer of like what Trump's doing and strategy and whatnot. So I quote him a lot in my book. But they always used images of Taylor Swift as like this idealized woman. She was their feminine ideal, and at that time she wasn't political. She was just something you could put all of your hopes and dreams on. And,
Right.
So they're very concerned about gender roles, primarily because they hate feminists. They think that you should keep women in their place to replace the race, right? It's very much about like we're the alpha male, fascist man, strongman person, and Taylor Swift is our dream girl.
And the damsel in distress, because
Yeah.
Kanye, the mean Kanye, went up on stage and snatched her award from her.
He did do
Yeah,
that.
he did. And I was saying earlier, it was like, and now it's reversed for them. Now it's Kanye's their damsel in distress. They love so much. And Taylor Swift is the big bad boogeyman from the outside that's going to come and snatch their trophy away. By
Kanye's
getting
a
girls to
useful
vote.
idiot.
The what?
Kanye's a useful idiot for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're all pro Taylor. We're all good with Taylor winning the person.
Yeah, I read a rundown yesterday or this morning about the right wing freak out over Taylor Swift and her power and feminism and all of that, and I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoy it. If you can find it, I think it was Midas Touch that did it, but if you can find the rundown of all the right wing people freaking out about Taylor Swift, it's pretty.
They
funny.
have a lot to say about her eggs, that she's old and she doesn't have as many eggs now, as if that matters or is a thing, or that like somebody like Matt Walsh is going to get with her ever.
Yeah, he doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
Like ever.
Yeah, like ever.
Like ever.
Yeah. So I think so. I'm the only person who's seen her actually live then on this show.
No.
You have?
Yeah, I saw her live. Yeah. Wow. I got tickets for free. So Milo and I went. This was a while ago. It was on the Reputation tour. And it was good. She talks about herself a lot. She She likes to talk about herself a lot. But the show is good and the songs are good and she's talented. She writes good stuff. I really liked the Midnight's album. I thought like lyrically she's kind of getting older and wiser and more dark, which I liked.
Yeah.
She
hooked me with the line from that where she says it must be hard always rooting for the anti-hero.
That's the title of the segment.
Yeah, that really resonated with me. Like just hearing it on the radio, I was like, wait, what? Huh. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good song.
I'm a Swiftie mom.
Yeah. Swiftie mom. Oh. Yeah. Well, I'm just, I still have to go see all of the things that are to see that have Taylor Swift in them, which seems to be everything at every movie, everywhere.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. No, she's not in that.
She's not in that. She's not in that. I still have to see it. But I have seen some of the clips and things from it. And the way that I think the other big thing that's such a threat to those folks about her is how she talked to her own family about why it's important to support women and to also defeat Trump, and got them to get it and it was caught on film, and to value her voice, even though she's, how could you not value your daughter's voice? And also she's, clearly this very accomplished person, but she had to really go hard with her family and get them to move on this issue. And it was very effective. And it was a demonstration for other young people of how to get your MAGA family there, right?
They were worried about her brand,
Yeah.
and she was worried about democracy.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that too.
Boy, she really suffered. Really took a hit.
So I guess she's the only entertainer to ever be Times Person of the Year.
Oh, really?
That's what I
Wow,
understand.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like ever.
All right, like ever.
I know.
Well, maybe also all of the folks that are in the entertainment industry in one channel or another that covet money and success also can take a lesson from this playbook of, maybe caring about democracy is important.
You think?
There's no art if there's no democracy.
There's no art if there's no money, folks. You're not going to make it. It's like the guys we talked about at the top, the NRX guys. It's like, it's just not going to work out for you the way you think it's going to. If you burn it all down, you're going to get toasted as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think this about does it for today's installment. I want to thank everybody for watching. Jen Mercieca, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's fun. It's always fun.
LB, if you don't mind, I know we have our thing, but I have last words for today. If you
you do?
want.
Okay,
I do.
Hit us up with your last words. I'd love to hear them.
Okay. I don't have any last words. The player's gonna play, and the hater's gonna hate, and we're just gonna shake it off.